All right, so every website have a navigation bar, and today we'll be talking about creating navbars, navigation bar, which is one of the prerequisites for building a website. The navigation bar is actually the major point of navigation. And when I mean navigation, I'm talking about accessing other parts or areas of your website. All right. And then if you look from here at the top, you can see a black, there's an advert here. You can see a dark box, all right, at the top. All right, these people are now adding a kind of advert to their navigation bar already. So anyway, they're into business. But as you can see, this area from here to the end is a navigation bar. So you can easily navigate from one page to another. You can navigate from world to US politics to business to health and more. All right. So you can as well click on the menu here and you see other drop downs. Do you understand? All right. So navigation bar is important. When you're building a static website is a website that doesn't have so much functionality, like buying, selling, creating user accounts, username, password. Static websites don't have all that. Well, dynamic websites are websites that has those functionalities where you can create username, you can log in, log out, access your files, and do so many things. We call such website a dynamic website. All right. While a static website is just a plain website to display company information. All right. And even if you build a static website or a dynamic website, you need to create a menu bar like this. All right. Like this. So our focus now is to create a menu bar like this one over here. You understand? So first off, let's inspect this page. Okay, so you get familiar with inspect a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'll right click on this page. And I'm going to click inspect.
Sorry, one second.
Sir? So as you can see, my navigation bar is at the top. So let me expand this a little. So this is my body, first parent element.
Sorry. Can you take that this part again?
Okay.
This inspect. Can you start the inspect again?
Yeah, the inspect element is a tool that helps you to view how this website is structured. All right, how the page is laid out. You'll be able to find out the parent elements and the child elements. All right, so if you right click on the page, you can click on inspect. So the inspect element will bring you to a tool. This is the tool area, all right, where you can view everything about the element. So I'm going to close this. Sorry, I'm going to move this side so that I can see clearly. All right, so this is my inspect element. So first thing I want to do is I want to scroll to the top and grab hold of my div. This is my body. This is my head tag. If you click on the head, All right, you see some scripts, external scripts that this website is using. They are using a script. All right, the source is from ecom.crad.net. All right, they have another script again, which is a content delivery network from crad.net. All right, slash user data slash get blah blah blah. And then they have another script again, which is a consumer.crad.net. And then they have another script again from crowd.net, which is opt-out underscore check. All right, so they are using an external script that has some functionality that has to do with a little bit about, well, I wouldn't want to say what this is about because I've not checked them out yet. So you can see the website. They have customer.crowd.net as consent. Then they have other scripts, a synchronous script, which is actually to pull data or resources from an external website, and they are using those files on the website. All right, so that's for the head. So our major focus is body. All right, so click on this tiny button here to expand body. Remember, body is the parent that is housing, storing all these child elements, which in turn also represents body elements. So from the first element you see at the top, you can see the body, you can see where all the child elements outside the body, see how they are laid out. All right, so the first child element, is a div with a display of none. You see, there is actually a div that has a display of none. All right, and it has an ID. The div has an ID called lightness JS. All right, and whatever it is. In that div also have a child element, and the child element is an iframe box. Is a box. All right, is a box, and it's containing a code. Okay, you can't see it because it's set to display none. Display none is what I think, yeah, I've taught you a little bit of display none when I was teaching you what's it called, UI class. Okay, but it's basically display none is just to hide the element, and then you can click on a button to show the element. So that is what this div represents. So now let's look at this other div. The next div we have here, all right, is a div. This is now a parent element. You can see this black button is pointing forward. It means there are elements there. If it's pointing downward, it means no elements there again. So if you click on this, it expands. So this is a parent div. As you can see, it has a class of AD, epic, and whatever. Then it has a child. The div was not closed here, as you can see. The div is finally closed here. So that means this div is a parent that's wrapping all these elements. All right, so I just want you to see that and understand how it works. These are other specifications for the div. Then the div has a class called, has an ID called add button. Sorry, not add button, add BNR or whatever it is. So this is another child div. Not only a child div, they have up to 2 different child divs. All right. So the question now is, where are these things located in our page? Where are these things located in our page? So our target is this particular navigation bar. So let's see how we can target it. Okay, we are moving close, right? Div header wrap. Then you can now see this one. You can see that the entire black section is now wrapped with a different color. Let's take it back a bit. So just in case you are trying to customize a website to actually look like your own website, like we can customize this MSN, this CNN website to become our own website and upload content on the and upload our content to the site. So if you want to start editing any of the sections here, you need to use inspect element to find that particular section. All right, you need to use parent and child element. And remember, programming is a sequential language, which means it begins from the first or the most important code that have been written, all right, at the top. It reads, the computer reads the code line by line, first div, second div, third div, fourth div. So if you begin with the parent div, it goes through all the children and then it exits that parent div. If there's another parent div, it goes in again, checks all the child elements in the div. When it's done, it exits that particular div. All right, so that is the reason why we are moving from body. From here, this is the entire body.
Sorry, quick question. Is it possible to have more than one parent div?
Yes.
Particular, okay.
Yes. Like this div now can have another div inside it again. It's possible to have one div. Like you see, look at these two boxes sitting side by side. This black box that spans from here to the end here is actually a parent div. Then you have a div that is wrapping these two divs. And is also wrapping these two divs. So there is a div, general div, that has a div here again, that is closed here. Then there is another div that is wrapping these two divs. Because when you create elements in HTML, they are stacked under each other by default. They don't sit side by side like this. They are all usually stacked under each other. That's how it is. So objects created in HTML are forced to sit under the first object. So we use display flex to move them side by side. If you are going to flex two elements like this, you just cannot use the main parent div from the beginning to flex it. If you do that, it will flex the next div, first child, that's what it will flex. All right. And that is exactly how you need to understand structuring of a web page. You need to know how to put parents and child elements together. All right, let's go straight into, let me see if we can write few lines of code. But before we go there, let's just capture our navbar. All right, so I'm not getting my navbar here. This is not my navbar. But this is a parent element. As you can see, this is a child element. So this is a parent element. This is a parent element. This is also a parent element. And this one is a parent element. But the moment I move to this inspect element of the div equals what? Div ID equals nav plain header. So automatically, this guy has been selected. All right. So now, because that div, this is a div, the black div, that's this one. And you can see it's pointing forward because there are child elements in the div. So all you need to do is just click on it so that you can see the children. These are divs. You can see div created in this div, right? Main div here, parent, closed here. Then you have a div inside it, and then you have a script. Now you can see that this same div, which is a child, is also pointing forward, which means this child div also have a child div. So this automatically becomes a parent div. This is a parent div. Although it sits in a parent, that means this is now a grandparent, and this is now a parent. Since this is a parent, it means it has children. So if you click on it, You can see it has a child. Even that child has another child. You see? And you see this child element is actually the element inside. Like I said, you have a div outside and you still need to have another div here. Because you need to control these two elements to sit side by side. I'll show you these things. All right. This is where you become a geek in web development. You understand? It is first understanding this.
What does gig mean?
Somebody that is like say someone who is good at doing something has to do it. So it's just technical things. It's just a term. So this is the child, all right, and is folding an element, and that element again is holding another element. So you can see so many things had to be done here. So this one, you see, we are moving down because we need to edit one of our elements. So you can see as we are moving gradually, look at the screen, you see that there are some broken lines. All right.
Yeah.
Yes. So we still have another element here. All right. We have another element. All right. Div, cell, div, and we move forward before we can now see the main element. Let's move. Okay, so we have
another one there.
We have a button that has an ID of menu button. That's this one. This one is the menu button. And the menu button has an SVG. That is an image. That SVG, you can see is pointing to that three lines. Can you see it?
Which three lines?
On the left-hand side of the screen. This one.
Okay.
Yes, that's what it's pointing to here. So if you want to...
I don't understand. How is it pointing to those three lines?
Yes, you can see SVG. SVG, when I move my mouse over here, you can see SVG menu.
Okay. Yes, I've seen it.
So if you want to target an element in your HTML and edit it, use your inspect element to trace it line by line. So once you know the elements you want to update, then you can say, you can now look at the text. This tag is SVG. SVG class menu icon, that's the class name. The style is outline. The style outline is 0. The width is 24. The height is 24. I hope you understand this part.
Is it
It's just a styling, but they did the styling inside the tag instead of using CSS.
Okay.
Are you getting me? This type of styling is called inline styling. All right. I'm not a fan of inline styling, but you can write style.
This is still the HTML, Abi.
Is HTML. You can just put style equals outline 0, width 24, height 24 inside a tag, which will work. All right. But the question is, how do you reuse it in other pages? How are you going to reuse it? It's stressful. So I'm not a fan of it at all. All right. So then you have view box, view, tab index, everything. But if you look here, you can see what this image is using, blah, blah, blah. But now this is the image. The image, yes. Yeah, the image is coming from www.vl.org. sorry, u3.org/2000/svg. That's where it's coming from. It's not sitting on the system itself, the local computer. All right. Now, this is the next one, CNN. You can see CNN has been highlighted now, right?
Yeah.
If you click it, you can see that there's a tag. Looks like my internet just went off. I guess it's back. Okay, sorry. They are updating their website real time. The website is updating real time. All right, just refresh now. So, but that's just that's it. But let's go and create a navigation bar as fast as possible. Let's see how we can do this. No, let me see. Okay, so let me click on page 6. Okay, so let's use this to create our navigation bar. So this HTML page is created. That's just, if you want to create your navigation bar, first you need to create that div. That's the black white div that's holding everything. All right. Now, you need a main div. The main div is just a parent div that can be moving things around, nothing else. Okay, just to move and position things. That's all. Then you need a div, a tag that is going to relate directly to all the child elements at once. All right. Since you are building a navigation bar, there is a tag called Navbar. It's called NAV tag, Navbar. That's the tag we use to create menus like that. All right. So all our menu items are going to live in the nav tag. So let's take, for example, we want to create this, want to create that same type of nav bar, okay, that we have. So that means I'm going to break this down to the next line so that I can have more space. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create that logo. Right? So that logo is an image, IMG, SRC. I don't have the image yet, so I'm going to leave it blank. Then I'm going to say ALT. ALT is going to be logo. ALT just means alternate text. When the image doesn't display, please display this text. All right, so we have the logo now. And beside the logo, we have a text, right? I'm going to give the text H2. And then that text is CNN. All right, now these are the two closest elements that sit side by side. All right, they sit side by side. So I'm going to respect those elements, all right? Because both of these two elements are sitting side by side and they are positioned together, I'm going to use a div to group them. So I'll open a div here. Then I'm going to close the div here. All right, so this should represent, let me open a screen. So this, what we have created now is the image and the CNN, IMG CNN. So there is a direct div that is surrounding these two guys. All right, that's what we have created now. So we need to create these two guys. So let's go back to our code. So I have a parent element. Inside it, I have another parent element. You see, the reason I need this one is I want this div to flex these two to stay side by side. That's why I'm putting them in a div. So later on, we're going to use this parent div, give it an ID of direct parent. Sorry. So direct parents to this first child. All right, so the second div, I'm going to create another div. So what this div is going to do is going to hold that login and the other one.
Audio, Abi.
It's going to, let me share that screen. Let's look at what it has.
Audio.
Yeah, audio and login. Thank you. Audio and login. So you can go with H2 again. So what this div is going to do is going to flex this audio and login separately. So this one is going to be, yeah, a button. All right, so for now, you can view our websites, right? So let me preview this on our, I'm going to preview it now on our website for us to see. So you can see this is CNN and logo. This is audio and whatever. So first we need the big div that is surrounding all of them. That is the nav. The nav will first of all flex everything. We'll flex these two side by side and flex these two side by side. In fact, both of them are not going to be, these two are not going to be flexed. They will just stay side by side. Let's go back to our code and quickly target it. All right, so if I put an ID here, direct parent 2. Yes, direct parent 2. So this is enough that is going to bear all the children. So it's going to be all parent. All right, so we need, remember we can use CSS, but let me just put style here. All right, so let's stay on the same page. So I'm going to call all parents first. I'll just display as flex. So then I'll save it and preview it for you to see what it looks like again. So this one is displaying, there is all parents, all right? There are two parents here, div1, parent div1 and parent div2. So since this the div that is controlling all parents, it will affect two divs. That's why I use the nav. Inside the nav, I created two divs. Two divs for div1 for this, div2 for this. Parent1 div, parent2 div. If I use the parent to separate them, it will pick the divs and distribute them. So you can see both of them now staying side by side. All right, so this is the reason why you need the div for this guy and a div for this guy. However, we will still use the parent div to separate them. All right, we'll stretch them, spacing it so that they will distribute to both ends. All right, so this parent, we can justify the content of this parent to.
I'm not seeing the screen. No.
Sir?
I'm not seeing the code.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, sir. So for the spacing, we use justify content. Justify content, space between. So that is to give a space between them. All right. So let's go back again and check. So you can see we've separated both ends, 1 and 2. So we flex them. If we add the third div will sit here. You know, it will just give them 2 equal space. You take half of the screen, take half of the screen. If we have a third element to say share the screen in 3 places, 3 columns, 1, 2, and 3. Each element should take a column. All right. So now we'll go back to our code. I have roughly 3 minutes to do this. So we'll go back to our code. Now, this will flex CNN and the logo. There's this one. Let me move this away from there. Yes. So it's going to flex its own child element directly. All right. So we want to flex these two to sit side by side. We are using the direct parent. See the direct parent. C style, I symbol, Control V, direct parent. Display. Flex. That will say direct parent 2.
Sorry, this justify content. What does it do again? I think I forgot.
When we display it, you see it. You see why I've not put justify content here. This direct parent. So this one is direct parent 2. So direct parent will flex this 2. Direct parent 2 will flex this 2. Right? So let's go back to our screen and preview this. Direct parents 1, direct parents 2. Direct parents 1 will flex this. DirectX 2 will flex this by adding them side by side. So you can see side by side, right? So let's go back to our code. All right, so you can use justify content to spread, but I won't suggest that. I'll suggest that you use margin left, all right, and margin right for this, so as to add space between them. All right, so just use margin left. You can put 20 px. All right, then you go margin right, you go 20 px. So same thing goes to this other guy here. Oh, my time is up. But let me just, I will send the video. Let me send this up. So take a look at it. All right. So
why is it not aligning?
Which of them? This one?
Yes, logo and CNN, they are not aligning like an audio and
The logo is a box. This is just a text. If you have the image there, it should be able to align properly. It's because we're not seeing the image here. If it's not aligning, we'll still use justify content, align content center, align item center, justify content center. However, the margin to the right